Hi, welcome to Fierce Racing. So when I first started doing sim racing, I, as everybody does, gets on Instagram and social media, and you start following people that you think are cool to follow and might have information. And there's this guy who kept coming up, and he kept putting out these great little clip videos.
Heat, especially on cold tires. If you lose the rear a little bit, like here, I'm losing the rear, right? In iRacing, this overheats the tire. Listen to the engine. I'm going to downshift pretty aggressively here. See what happens. Immediate overshear. Now I'm gonna do the opposite, and I'm not gonna downshift at all. I'm gonna carry a similar speed to what I would do, and I'm gonna do it on 5th gear. Look at this. I mean, it's pretty clear, right? Excessive undershear.
And talks about coaching, and all his tips were like spot on. And I was like, this guy's cool. He knows what he's talking about. And so I have the pleasure of actually getting him for an interview today. So let's welcome Suellio Almeida.
Hello, John. Thank you for having me.
Hi, Suellio. Hi, thanks for coming on. I think this is going to be great. People will really enjoy this. So let's just get started here. Tell me about your background in sim racing. How did you get involved in sim?
So I was always in love by cars, basically. Since I was a kid, I always played Gran Turismo. That's where I started, playing on the joystick, on the console, playing Gran Turismo, Forza, and I always had those, I don't know, I just liked cars as a kid. I had a house where the floor had these like black stripes that looked like racing track, and I was like I would get those like Hot Wheels toys, and I would do a full endurance race and just play with them. Anyways, I never really went to real life racing when I was young. I asked my dad, hey, I went to go karting, and I knew it existed. We watched Formula 1 and things, but we didn't have the money to do it. So I never went to actual racing, but I always liked this sport. I always liked pictures of race cars and games. So eventually I discovered that there is this thing called sim racing. So that was actually already not too long ago. That was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. When I heard about Assetto Corsa, when I heard about iRacing, when I heard about simulators, actually buying a wheel to control the car, for me that was simply amazing. So I started with a Driving Force GT, very, very low end, and I had my notebook, and I would have to look up like that because the notebook was right behind the wheel. And that's how I started. It was gaming, and eventually I got to the point where I was meeting other people and making a virtual team and doing leagues, all that on the still, amateur level. But then I kept going, and then I realized that, okay, I'm faster than these teammates, but there are some other people there who are faster. I'm gonna join them, and let's build a bigger team and do something. And I always wanted to go further instead of just having fun. I was always trying to improve. In the meantime, I was starting with sim racing. I was already with 10 years of music experience. I have been doing lots of piano since I started high school, even before high school. I don't know, actually I started when I was like 12. I started my piano career, and then I got serious about it. I even started doing engineering school, but then I kind of quit that because I wanted to do piano. And I always had sim racing there. It was always my hobby, and eventually I got into iRacing, and then I discovered this world of competition with so many fast drivers and with a good internet connection and the net codes, the famous net code of iRacing that makes racing so real, so realistic, even virtually, even racing with people from Australia, you can have a good race there. Anyways, I just fell in love with that, and I always wanted to improve. So I was never not serious. I was always seriously wanting to have fun and win. And that's it. So I kept doing those two things in parallel: piano and sim racing, piano and sim racing, piano and sim racing. And somehow the experience of piano, playing an instrument in high level, made me transport the methods, the approach to improve to sim racing. So I did that for a long time until I was going to do my master's degree here in Montreal. Up to that point, I was living in Brazil. And when I came here, I had to pay a big tuition for my master's degree. And the mother of my girlfriend came up with this idea: hey, why don't you teach to make some money to pay for your tuition in the piano university? I was like, yeah, sure, right? Like, I'm doing well. I have done so far, like, I was 5.4 thousand iRating. I was already champion in the overall seasons in the iRacing Formula 3 series, official races. I was like, yeah, people trust me. People know me. Let's try that. So I went to the forum and I started coaching. 1 hour, $20. Another hour, $20. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, that's $40. That's already some money. And then I started asking for these first students to give a feedback on the forum so I could find more students. And then I kept doing that. And I remember being so happy that I had 6 students. I was like telling my girlfriend, look at that, I have 6 students right now. This is so amazing. Then 10, then 15, then 20. And then I realized that I was actually I was going viral on that same forum post on iRacing's forum because I was wanting to get some money for my university. But not only that, not only I was going viral, I was realizing that I was really good at teaching. I was just having fun. I was connecting to the students' mind, muscular memory, their ideas, their approaches, how they were connecting to the car, and I was easily understanding the solutions. And I was giving them the solutions. They were getting happier, and I was getting happier. I was like, okay, I just found out a new passion, not only racing, but teaching racing. So I kept going. I never stopped. I came to Montreal with a good amount of money. I paid for the tuition and I paid for my bills, for my rent, because I was planning to have support from my parents from Brazil when I came here, and I never got any money from them because I was just getting the money from coaching. So it became my full-time job even before I came here. And as soon as I finished my master's degree, it was clear, okay, I am not going to pursue anything with piano because I just found out this big, talent / passion. And yeah, I kept going. So that's where I am right now. I still compete. Of course, I didn't talk too much about the competing part, but it's just because the piano approach made me a good driver, a conscious driver, a deliberate driver where I know exactly everything that's happening with me and with the car. And then I was able to transfer that all to my students, and that's my life right now. My life is basically going as fast as possible and then communicating that to everyone else.
I like that idea that music had kind of, you equate the discipline of music to the racing. I can see that. I have a friend who's a magician he was a concert pianist as well, and he was getting, I think, some sort of really bad, something in his hands, carpal tunnel or something really bad, and the doctor said, you just can't play anymore. So he instead learned magic, because the dexterity of magic and the precision was sort of like the dexterity and precision of piano. And now he's a real famous magician. So similarly, now you're a real famous iRacer. So that's great. I love that origin story. So let's talk a little bit about, I know you are you have a potential ride in a real world car, and you're trying to set something up to be able to do some real world racing, which I think is wonderful. I love seeing that transition. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
So yes, it's a crazy dream, and I'm not waking up. It's just still happening. So basically, the team Apex V2R invited me to not one race, not 2 races, but 14 races. They wanted me to do a full season for cost price. And actually, I already have some connection with them. They invited me to test their race cars last year on a track day. And also they invited me to join their team and actually this sim racing team, and they wanted me to, join the team as a whole, even in real life, coaching, instructing in real life in track days. So as soon as I joined them, I realized that connection was much stronger between sim racing and real racing. And when I got the call from them 2 weeks ago, I was like, okay, this is definitely happening. So it's a championship in Canada called Super Production Challenge, and these are 5 race weekends with two and 3 races per weekend, totaling 14 races. I still have to pay for that season price, and I know that's a lot of money, even though kind of getting an idea of how expensive motorsport is in general, I realized that it's a pretty good deal to pay. For example, I think it's around $25,000 to $28,000 for 14 races in real life with tires, with everything. So it is a pretty good deal. I heard that this is really not, and it's Canadian dollars, so it's not that expensive. So I was like, okay, this is an opportunity for me. My performance in real life for the very first time was already, I already felt at home, basically. My very first experience was when I won the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada in iRacing last year, which put me in a real Porsche at the driver development track at Mosport. And I remember feeling the G-forces, which were the new information for me. But apart from that reaction and from that extra information, everything was the same. I was feeling full control. I was understanding under here. I was understanding over here. And I was like, this is so good. This is so... I know how to drive a real car. And I think I really reflect, because that's what pilots do, right? Like, you don't get on a plane and you pilot like that. You have to do a lot of simulation. So this going from the sim to the real thing is not necessarily a bad path, because there's a lot of real racing drivers saying that, like, sim racers don't necessarily learn the real thing. They have to start with the real thing to learn the real skills. And I think I don't agree with that, because I'm realizing, and we are all seeing more and more sim racers joining real competitions, and in no time just becoming pretty competitive immediately. So
coming from my experience, because I've driven a lot of real cars and now I'm new to sim, I don't agree with people saying that. I think the only thing you're missing in sim is that like you said, the G-force, what I call the butt reaction, feeling it in your butt. SOP. And actually sim racing, if you learn to sim race, you learn 95% of everything is absolutely accurate to a real car. And then when you get in a real car, you just have one extra level of sense, of feel, and actually it just makes you a little bit stronger in feeling, the car breaking away, or when you're just starting to enter a slide or something. It does, but I think, Formula One drivers, they're always in simulators, and they do that because they learn the track and they can learn the braking and everything they need to learn, and then you put them in a real car and it's just, you just get a little bit more information. So it's not any lesser, it's anything, a very valuable way to train.
Exactly. Yeah. And now I'm looking forward and confident that I will do well in this competition. I'm still gathering the money, so I released the course and it's doing well so far. I'm working very hard. The feedback is amazing on this online racing course. Basically, summing up all of my coaching skills that I have developed over these 2 years and a half and 1,300 hours of coaching. So I'm really
don't get ahead. We're going to talk about that. Yeah. We're going to talk about that in depth. So hang on, hold that thought. So actually, that was sort of one of the next questions I had, was tell us about that training. Now, first of all, let me take a step back. If you go, I'm going to look at the fans now, the viewers. If you go to the Suellio's Instagram page, you can find a place it's a Kickstarter, I guess it is, right? I donate money I
did do a GoFundMe, but now I'm focusing so much on the course as well. But yeah, I do have a GoFundMe that is active right now.
If you just want to do that, go to GoFundMe. If not, the course is a great way that you're financing. You're going to learn so much. So, talk now about that course that you're offering. You took all these years of experience and kind of boiled it down to a very specific set of tools.
Exactly, and I will never forget how and when the course idea came into my mind. I was literally like in the shower. It was just like thinking about life at the end of a long day, and it just clicked. But it was crazy because it was not like an idea that developed into another. It was the whole thing was ready in my mind. It was just like J.K.'s Rowling idea for Harry Potter. She said that she was like on a train, and by the end of the train trip, she had the entire story of the 7 books in her mind. That's more or less what happened to me. I remember going out of the shower quicker and taking the cell phone to write it down before I forgot, because it was really like that. I was like, oh wow, even the name of the course right now is still very similar to the first name idea that I had in that shower, which is a checklist. Checklist is the main thing here, because I realized that we don't have a very specific method to identify if we are on the limit in every stage of the corner. And I was like, wow, what if I created a list, and then it develops not only a list, a checklist to watch your own replay and figure out whether you can find time here or there, but also explaining what each of these topics would be. And then that's it. Like after that 1 minute idea, I started working on it. That was like 5 months ago. That was in December 2021, and I have been working on it nonstop. Every time I'm doing a coaching session, a one-on-one coaching session, I have my little notepad here on the side, kind of adapting the reaction of the student to my inputs, and then seeing if it works. If it works very well, I write it down, and it's gonna be a lesson on my course. I have been doing that for 4 months, and it's huge. It's a huge notepad now. Notepad, is that how you say? Notebook, full of notes.
Notebook, notepad, either one.
And so that's it. I really, and then actually I already had this idea for the course for a long time ago, but then I got the call to race in real life, so I decided to release it in early access. So, and it's even better. It actually worked out to be very good to actually have constant feedback from the current students before I add the new lessons, because then I'm optimizing and always improving that tiny bit. The positioning of this, the graphic, the timing, the assignments, the backup content and textual information. I'm really adapting everything. So every lesson that I'm doing, they're getting more professional. They're getting more efficient. And yeah, that was the best idea I had this at the end of last year.
That's great. So talk about who is this course right for? First of all, I'll point out that particularly right now when you're running sort of a little bit of a discount or a pre-release version, it's not much more than a coaching session, which is amazing. So you can either do a coaching session or you can buy this great document, this information. But you had mentioned, I think it's a little bit for intermediate to advanced. Is it a little bit beyond beginners, or can beginners gain from it as well?
Beginners can gain from it. Absolutely. The thing is that I quickly go to a very subtle and precise application of the extreme of that idea. So I present brake bias. What does it make? How does the car behave when you change the brake bias? First, I explain the obvious, the fundamental, but then I quickly go to, oh, hey, but if you do it like this, and in this situation, we can get much more precise, much more subtle output from the car. So I go quickly to that advanced side, but I mean, I have been working with total beginners to world championship drivers, and we don't really talk about different things. Racing at its essence, it's not too complicated. What is complicated is to do everything at the limit at the same time. and that takes time. But the understanding of the essence is not too difficult. It's not too different. That's what I wanted to say. So yes, if you are beginning in iRacing right now and you have a very, very basic understanding of the fundamentals, undershear, overshear, weight transfer, you're gonna benefit from my course, because that's it. I always take it from the first pillar of the idea and then I develop it. I'm not just saying already going straight into a very complicated thing and taking it from there, because even some advanced drivers don't know how to put words to what they do. Most racing drivers and sim racing drivers do it by feel. There's this culture that we are born quick and that we do things naturally. But this naturally thing is dangerous because you just do things by feel without actually putting names or without being aware of what exactly you are doing. And as soon as we start putting names to it, you can adjust it. So I have been working with... I have a student. He was 7.8 thousand iRating. He had more iRating than I had when we were doing the session. And I was like, what are you doing here and here and here? And he was like, I don't really know. I just drive. And it was actually difficult, but we eventually started putting words to what he was doing. And by the end of the session, of 1 hour session, he found 1/10. And we were so happy because at his level, 1/10 is a big deal. 1/10 of a second per lap. So, but yeah, it was difficult to work with him because he didn't know how to put words to what he was doing. So even if you are a beginner and you get my course, I'm gonna put words in everything. This is it, this is this, and this is that, and this is this, and this is that, and you're gonna organize, you're gonna have knowledge to support your understanding. Because a lot of people understand what they're doing, but they don't have the actual knowledge of it, which is a little bit paradoxical, but it happens a lot. And coming from the musical background where we have to put names on everything to be a good musician, we have to describe what we are doing. I am bringing this to all my students now. So if you can describe what you're doing, you're gonna do it better and more precisely.
That's great. Great tips. Okay, good. Well, hopefully a lot of people sign up for this. I know I'm going to buy your course myself because I could always use the help. So let's talk about rigs right now. First of all, what kind of rig, what do you drive? What's in your what's right in front of you there? I think that's your wheel, right?
Yeah, so what I have right now is I'm gonna be using this one for 1 or 2 more months. My wheel is Cube Control. It's a very old Cube Control that is not even available anymore. There is a newer version. I think it's the Formula Pro that is available right now. But this one that I have is a Formula Lite, which I have for more than 3 years already. It's quite light. And my cockpit is a Spanard cockpit, which is manufactured by a guy from Montreal. I was thinking already about upgrading it a little bit. I've been using this same one for more than 2 years as well. And then I have triple screens. They are 32 inches, 165 hertz. And I have the Trek Racer triple monitor support. So you see, I'm not using just one thing. It's like a piece from each manufacturer, which is the good thing about sim rigs. We can actually all mount with different pieces from different manufacturers, and they will still fit.
Right.
Unless you're doing Fanatec, then they want you to buy always the same thing so it can fit. Otherwise, it doesn't work together, and that's why I don't have. And yeah, so
what kind of pedals do you have?
Yeah, I have the Hoisting pedals sprint set. They are 65 kilos and they are amazing. I love them. You can control so much how they feel. And it's funny that they are quite heavy right now. I use them maxed out basically. And then I feel, okay, now I have some good firm pedals like they would be in real life. And then I go to the real car and I try to... I just put the foot very close to the pedal and the car stops like crazy in real life because the pedals in real life were actually way lighter than my actual sim racing pedals. So that was a little
Wow.
bit shocking for me. I was expecting brakes in real cars to be a little bit heavier, which is I think the case for Formula cars, right? And some race cars, they have really heavy pedals, but the FRS race car that I was testing had super light pedals. I think it's because the base car that before was prepped into a race car was urban car, so it had like very
Yeah.
friendly pedal. But yeah, I
Yeah.
love the pedals that I have right now.
Okay. So that's actually, I have a very beginner's rig. I have a Thurstmaster T150, belt and whatever the gears. I have their pedals too, and it's the wheel is fine for now. The one thing that bothers me is the pedals. There's no feedback, so I have no idea how much force I'm putting into my brakes, and it's a problematic because if I'm coming into a turn and I want to kind of light brake into it, there's one at Snetterton that I'm getting used to now, coming in that left-hander where it's a fast left-hander but immediate tight right-hander right after, so you have to kind of bleed speed off as you get into that left-hander. You can't brake hard because you're kind of in a turn, and so you have to kind of ease into it. I have no idea what I'm pushing, so I'm really looking forward to getting some proper pedals. But where as a starting person, just to advice for starting people, not necessarily for me, but for people even just looking into sim racing, where's the place to spend the money? Where do you think that they should start if they really want to do sim racing for real? What's the place to put the money first? That makes sense.
Equipment wise, right? Are you talking about equipment? Pedals, no doubt.
Well, where were you 3 months ago?
I remember so the equipment I started was a G29 with the G29 pedals, and they had the same issue. I had the same issue. They are potentiometers, so they don't measure how hard you're pressing. They just measure how the pedal itself is moving. So basically, our precision, our sensorial precision, like to judge how much the foot is moving, is much worse than if you're pressing against. That precision of how hard you're pressing, that muscular sensation is much more precise. So I can brake 80 kilos or let's say 50 kilos, and I can on the next lap brake 49, maybe 51. It's gonna be close because that muscular precision works. But if I have to brake 50% of this distance, on the next lap I'm gonna try to do the same. It's gonna be 40 or 60. We won't have that precision if it's for moving. So the first thing I did, I had the G29s. I bought a mod that made it way harder. It was still potentiometer, but it was so hard that I was tricking my brain that it was actually how hard I was pressing that was making the difference. And that made it work, and that I did well with that G29 pedal with the little mod for 2 years. I started coaching with that pedal. I did not know how it was to drive on a load cell pedal by then. That's how effective that mod was. So I'd recommend improving the pedals first, and then the wheels after. So priority 100% pedals.
Great. That's great. Yeah, that's good to know. Great. Well, I have one last question for you, and I think I know the answer, so you'll have to tell me if I'm correct. Where does this go next for you? Where do you see yourself in 10 years from now? Do you want to race real world cars full time, or are you looking to just continue coaching and becoming better and better, or where do you see yourself then?
Yeah, that's a good question, because honestly, at where I am right now is already a huge success based on what I wanted to do 4 months ago, 5 months ago, right before I moved into this new apartment and mounted my streaming studio. I just wanted to grow on Twitch and to be able to be financially stable and to continue coaching and to continue competing. But then with this real life thing, it makes the possibilities much bigger, and I can't imagine, right now I'm trying to be realistic, but what is stopping me from becoming a GT driver, a paid driver in 3-4 years? You never know. at the rate I'm improving, I'm always working on my brand, always working on my credibility as a coach, always working as a sim racing driver, as a driver, doing my best when I'm doing the real life tests. I'm afraid of one thing for now, I'm gonna be honest, which is close battles in real life. And there's this very specific reason. We have a very distorted mirror in iRacing. You can increase the field of view, and that helps so much with precise close fighting in iRacing, but we don't have that in real life. And I remember when I was doing track days, the car didn't look exactly what I expected in the mirror versus where it really was, because of my experience with sim racing. So I'm afraid of that adaptation for now, but it's such a small thing, I probably, like, after 1 weekend practicing a little bit, I will figure it out. But yeah, my expectations are to just keep improving, keep the wheels spinning. I think this is, I keep saying, like, with my girlfriend, that this is the peak of life. Like, not that it's gonna be worse in the future, but that we just want to maintain that peak, maintain that good routine, being healthy, being happy with the work, happy with the social status, and not status, social life, work life, and at the same time, just being grateful for how things are going, and having fun every day. So I just expect to maybe become an actual real life driver. If not, I will keep improving. I will keep making more and more courses. I will keep streaming on Twitch. My Twitch is exploding at this point. I would never expect to have 200 viewers average without any raid. Just going live, that's 200 people there talking to you, expecting you to give them something, and then giving something back, giving you support, sharing their experiences, and it's all there. It's all happening. So I'm really happy where I am right now already.
Great. Well, that's really great. That's an important place. So you've worked hard to get to where you are. So you're enjoying it now and just continuing building what you have. So
exactly.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to make sure there's links at the bottom of this in YouTube underneath the description for all these things we talked about with you, so people can find you. And of course, find you like on Instagram is a great way, and Twitch. And we'll just keep watching you and rooting you on, and hopefully we'll see you in a real car soon, and we can watch you on TV. That'll be even cooler, huh?
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Suellio. That was great information, great background on you, and I'm looking forward to following you, so I hope everybody else is too. Thanks again for joining us. Make sure to look in the description for notes and links and all that stuff. Please give us a subscribe here on YouTube and follow us on Instagram, and we'll be doing some more cool interviews in the future, so stay tuned. Thanks a lot.